Welcome, absurdists. Today I will tell you a short story based on the philosophy of Albert Caraco. I'll assume all of us are aware of who he is and his philosophy. So let's cut to the chase. The Clockwork Ruin in Albert Caraco-style story. In the heart of the nameless city, there stood a tower of glass and steel, its jagged spire clawing at the grey heavens. Inside, Elias watched the world decay from his perch on the 44th floor. The city below, a labyrinth of rusting machines and crumbling concrete, pulsed faintly with the rhythm of despair cars stalled in endless gridlock. Neon lights flickered in polluted air, and the faint cries of the dispossessed seeped through. The cracks of it all. Elias had once been an architect, a designer of monumental structures meant to defy time. But time, he had learned, was merciless. His creations, celebrated in their infancy, had aged poorly, like everything else. The tower he now occupied was his last, the pinnacle of his career, and the final testament to the futility of ambition. It had been constructed as a symbol of progress, yet it now housed only ghosts, forgotten offices, hollowed-out halls, and Elias himself a relic among ruins. He sipped bitter coffee from a chipped mug and stared out at the sprawling decay. He had long abandoned hope for the future. Progress. The myth that had driven humanity for centuries had betrayed them. The machines they had built to liberate them now enslaved them. The resources they had extracted with such fervor were gone, leaving behind only scorched earth and empty promises. Civilization, Elias thought, was nothing but a clockwork ruin, ticking inevitably toward its final collapse. The radio on his desk crackled to life, breaking the silence. Static hissed, followed by a voice drained of vitality. This is the final broadcast of Station 88. The power grid will shut down at midnight. For those still listening, good luck. The words hung in the air, not with urgency, but resignation. Elias turned the dial until the static swallowed the station whole. Midnight. He thought. The end of light. The city had already grown dim. As the hours crept closer to darkness, people below moved like shadows, carrying bundles of firewood, scavenging for what little remained. Elias had no interest in joining them. He had always known this day would come. The collapse was not an event, but a process, slow and inevitable. He leaned back in his chair and lit a cigarette, its embers glowing faintly against the gathering gloom. He thought of his parents, long dead, and the optimism they had once instilled in him. You can build a better world, his mother had said. She had believed in the myth of progress, in the idea that humanity could transcend its flaws. Elias had believed it too, once. But now he saw that her faith had been misplaced. Humanity was not evolving. It was simply wearing itself out, like a wound that refused to heal. At midnight, the lights of the city flickered once, twice, and then died. The tower shuddered as the silence deepened, swallowing the faint hum of electricity that had always been there, unnoticed until it was gone. Elias stood and gazed out at the darkness. The stars, obscured for so long by the city's light, now revealed themselves, distant and indifferent. He thought about leaving the tower, about wandering into the night like the others. But to what end? The streets below offered no salvation. No escape from the truth he had long understood. The world was a corpse, its heart long stopped, its flesh decaying. To wander among the scavengers would be to deny the reality he had spent his life contemplating. Instead, Elias climbed the narrow stairs to the rooftop, carrying with him a single chair and a bottle of whiskey. The wind was cold, carrying with it the faint smell of ash. He sat and poured himself a glass, raising it to the empty skyline. To the clockwork ruin, he said aloud, his voice swallowed by the void. He drank, feeling the warmth of the liquid spread through his chest. As the city lay in silent collapse, Elias remained on the rooftop, watching as the stars slowly wheeled overhead, eternal and unchanging. That's the end of this story. If you liked this video, please give it like, as I'm trying to grow this channel and become a full-time storyteller. And do me a favor and subscribe while you're at it. But until then, you have a safe life.